Y'all all right tonight? Right, good. Well, good evening. We want to welcome you back to the Raw, Restoring Awesome Warriors. I'm Jackie H, and I have here with me my co-host, Gail Barron, the judge. And Gail, how was you today? How's your day?
Great.
Okay. All right. Well, it's a little steamy today. It went back up in the humidity, so I, I I didn't stay outside too long today. I had your nephew, I mean your grandson, my nephew, and he took me out there for we went to Chuck E. Cheese today. But I'm back in. At least that was cool. But anyway, just want to give a little update before we start talking to our special guest tonight. So I'm still on my job with my diet. Well, I'm not going to call it a diet. My eating habits have changed. So I'm making it a lifestyle instead of a diet. So, but today, because I went to Chuck E. Cheese, I had to use this as my cheat day because I was with the young one and we had pizza, but I didn't overdo it. Okay. So how you doing with yours?
Eating wise, okay.
Okay. You been to the gym?
Um, Not this week, but I have a stationary bike at home,
Okay.
so I've been doing that. And actually, I feel pretty good.
Okay. All right. Well, I ain't gonna bust on you and do a lot of things to you today because I have a special guest that I am so honored to have sitting here with us. And for years, I called this gentleman my big brother. And the point of it is, at one time, I really thought he was my brother. We're gonna get into this subject, but I'll let you introduce him because I think I'm his favorite, but I think you already told me that he was your favorite. You was his. So if you do the honor, why don't you introduce who we have today sitting with us?
Well, before I introduce them, I didn't realize it was late in life that I realized that he wasn't my brother, but still today he is. Um, all my life, he's been my big brother, and today I don't see no different. Um, I'm gonna always be the favorite.
Okay.
I'm gonna always be the baby girl. That's it, point blank. But anyway, I would like to take this time to introduce to some and present to others my big brother. I ain't even gonna go with the title. His name is Thomas. Thomas Jefferson. And I was thinking about that today. I said he got a whole lot of people names. He got first and last name, our grandpa, first and not last name, first and middle name. First and middle name from daddy, But then his natural, his real father, he took on the last name. So we've been talking about names here. Um, Names are identifiers. So I don't know who he identified with because he's my brother. He's my brother. So without further ado, we're going to give him the floor. We just want him to talk, come his own way.
Well, hold up. Before you do that, let me explain to people who don't know him why we call him our brother. Well, back in the day, he'll tell you his story. Well, he lived with us all our life. He was the first person in the house with mom and dad. So that's why, but he's actually our first cousin. And back in the day, people would take in children or whatever else. But because nobody didn't tell us, that's why we really cherished that we had an older brother and he was in the Navy. That's all we kept telling people. Our brother's in the Navy. When he came home, he was our brothers from the Navy. But I'm gonna let him tell his story, but I'll let you all talk together.
But before you do that, I don't know if you remember when Daddy got sick. You know, on his sick bed. Do you remember what he told us?
On daddy deathbed, this me on his our father told us we have six siblings, it's three girls and three boys. He told us he wanted us to accept this man, Tommy Nesbitt, as our brother. And he said, and his family, that was his request on his bed. And I was like, I didn't know what else he thought I was going to do. All right.
Truly, truly, truly. I look at both of you. I don't have a favorite. Let me say this. Let me say this about the both of you. I look at my baby sister in the 70s. She would always write to me and encourage me. I didn't know I need encouragement, but the letters reached me. It encouraged me to continue on my journey. And with you, you're military. Me and you will always be family, first naturally and militarily. Also in the kingdom of heaven. You're my sister. And that's why I enjoy life as a whole. So just to start off the journey, I just want to talk about how I got here. So your father, I call Uncle Wright, and your mother, I call Aunt Leslie. They got married in 1949, and I was born in October 49, same year they got married. And your mom came from a Baptist tradition from Georgia. Her father was 12 kids, you know what I mean, and they were all Baptists. Your father, again, came from the Baptist tradition from Southern, because of my grandfather. So, in the Baptist tradition, if you leave one city and go to another, you have to sign up for the same church or tradition. Then they have to call back to that church and make sure you left on good standing before they receive you. So that's what your dad did. Your dad came here. He started at 22nd, 33rd and Diamond Church, that Baptist church there. That's where he signed up. And he was a faithful uh, member there. And you already know he was a singer. Go around with the gospel, Georgia travelers that they were. And from that point, you know, I mean, your mom went around Night 10th and Dolphin and got saved. And from that point on, she got all her sisters saved. And Addie, and Kate, and Nora. And that's how we met Johnny Carolina. Okay? And from that point on, that's how the recreation started from that point. I don't want to go into details about Mother Night. That's who original started the organization, and the judge, the Elder Johnny Carolina, aka Judge in the Lord, was raised there, and we all was raised under that um, umbrella. Okay.
Let me ask you something before you get to that. How did you get with my mom and dad?
Okay. So in 1958, my mom passed. So they came to the funeral, and by your dad being, my mom was the oldest in the family, and your dad was the second. I don't know what relationship they had together. However, after the funeral, they brought me and my sister Geneva to Philly to live. So that's my first adoption. Now, that's how I got there through the death of my mom. My parents had 10 children. I was number 7 in that 10. Geneva was the baby girl. So she was number 9. Okay. So after a year being in Philly, we was already in the new creation, going to service. So every year we would go back to Georgia to visit. So the following year, 59, we went back to Georgia. And my sister Sue said, I'm not going back.
Well, she was up there too.
She was here first.
Oh, okay.
It was me and Suzette first. After mom died, they brought us two.
Okay.
Okay. She was the girl after me. After Al. No, after me. And then the story was that your mom could not have children at that time. They call it barren. And she really wanted to take care of children. So she took care of me and my baby sister Geneva until a certain season came in life when I remember Nama Jean. You remember her? And Nama Jean couldn't have children either. But she was promised a child from the new creation. And what I remember is she always prayed, but she also had a heart for children. And how I remember, I just want to go back a little bit. Coming from Georgia to Philly, this is like a heart of mine. Probably the way you see me dressed now. When I left Georgia, I came to Philly with an orange sack. They usually have like maybe 20 oranges in a sack or 50 oranges in a sack. That's all the clothing that I had when I came to Philly. And so that put a burn in my heart to never be like that again. And they took care of me. They clothed me because they only had the kids. So where my parents couldn't provide for me like that, they were able to. And I enjoyed that. At the same time, when I came to Philly, my uncle's son named Nama, Uncle Wright, and Uncle Leslie was living in the same house on Del High Street when I got there. So my two sisters had a room next to the front room. You got the living room where they stayed at. The second room, that was our room. I think just to know, like a son and Norma had the back room, and the room next to that room was Sister Olivia. Stayed in that room when I first came in '58. So that's how we got to living in your parents' house and raising me. And from that point on, I grew up. Um, your mom taught me, homework because she's adamant about us learning and becoming the best we can be. So when I went to school, I came up here, I was in the 3rd grade, going to Ferguson. I went to Ferguson, come home. She was always sitting at the table, make sure whatever homework I had, that we got it done. She would always check it. Okay. And from that point, I guess we went from graduated from 6th grade from there, went over to Wanamaker. I did my first 3 years there, then high school to Mastbaum. Mastbaum, my trade was auto mechanics. auto mechanics. I was the top of my class in auto mechanics. I love auto mechanics. So I don't know what detail you want me to get. Okay, but as a teenager, auto mechanics used to get my fingernails dirty. So every time I went out with a girl, they disliked my fingernails. Okay, so I stopped being a mechanic because of the girls. And I became, worked on hydraulic jacks, which wasn't as dirty, but it was still mechanical. And I did that job for some time. But anyway, that's was why I changed my curriculum. Not because I didn't like mechanics. I was the best at mechanics. But as a teenager, you're out there and you're trying to find your life, and that's when I messed up everything. So basically, after I left, um, I graduated 1967, June 21st. June 22nd, I left home, and I moved with my brother Virgil to South Philly. And basically, I got down there, got in trouble, shot a guy, and then I got sprayed and I joined the Navy. 1968, I went in the Navy in November.
You got what?
Huh?
You got what?
Afraid.
Afraid. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, hold. Let's pause for a minute. Wait a minute. So was you planning, like, after you graduate, you knew you was leaving it, you was planning on leaving the very next day?
Yes. When I was 13, I got so tired of going to church
No.
7 days a week. I mean, yes, it was like it's Monday through Friday, twice on Sunday, and rehearsals on Saturday. I got so tired of that, so I wanted to leave at 13. So Mother Leslie sat me down, and she had a conversation with me. She said, Tommy, I know you can make it because I trained you. I know you are able, but do me a favor. Get yourself a diploma. Stay here until you get your diploma because it's going to be hard to get a job without it. So I promised her I would stay there until I get my diploma. Again, I graduated from Mass Bomb Tech, June 21, 67. And I left there June 22nd, 67. And I never went back to stay. No matter how much trouble I got, I would never go back because the rules was this. They never put me out. They said, if you stay in my house, you have to go to church. That was the only rule. I wasn't going to church. So I just left. But her love for me never changed. She always contacted me. She always cared for me. Not sure if I wanted to, I could have went back. But I know the rules. My thing was to abide by the rules. I know the house rules. If you stay in that house, the rule was go to church. That's it. They didn't give me no whole lot of ups and downs, just that. I made my mind up I wasn't going to church. And that's it. So with Virgil, as soon as I moved down there, guess what? They started giving me alcohol. You know what I mean? From one thing to the alcohol to drugs, women, and that's what messed me all up. You know what I mean? Then I got into a gang, 13th and South. I got into that gang. My brother James brought me my gun. You know what I mean? You need a gun to be in a gang in that time. And that's what happened. Going to the club that night, me and Gainey. Gainey was the leader at the time. And we coming out the club. He just told me to cap him. Hide him. I just capped the dude. He took the gun. Huh?
I'm trying not to laugh. Gil would laugh. Was it a fight going on, or it was just something to do?
Just coming into the club. So it was 15th and Climber against 13th and South. So they came into our territory, which was the club is on. It was at Broad and Little Street, right off of South Street. I couldn't remember Little Street, but that's where the club was. He just told me to cap it. I did, you know what I mean? And he grabbed the gun. I went one way, he went to another way. He gets caught, but he didn't die on me. He took my parole, whatever, and I went and joined the Navy. So Ernest, you know Ernest, that's my wife's brother. Me and Ernest had took the test in February that same year. I passed the test, then I didn't want to go, so I wouldn't go. Ernest went on that same year. So when that happened, I go down to, I think it was on, what is it, 401 Broad Street, the recruiter place at that time. I went down there and I told him, hey, I passed the test and y'all didn't send me nothing. He looked at the record. I said, yeah, we sent you. I said, no, I ain't never got it. They said, when you want to go? I said, as soon as possible. So this was in November when that happened. So they had to open the 17th of December, 1980. No, was it 80? I'm sorry, 1968, I'm sorry, it was 68. 1968. So I joined, I went in November 17th, December 17th, 68. And then from there to Vietnam. Okay, so that's when my baby sister would always write me the letters in Vietnam. And that's because, I don't know if I should go here, but let me go, you got me on this road now. I used to love Lulu. That was my lover at the time. And being over in Vietnam, Lulu got pregnant, got kicked out of the church, and she had to marry the guy that she got pregnant, but she wasn't in love with that guy. But because of the culture or the rules of the church, she had to get married. I'll never forget, I come home for leave, getting dressed. My blessed asked me, where you going? I said, I'm going to see Lulu. She said, don't you know she married? So it's like, why didn't you tell? I could have stayed where I was. I'm coming home, right, to get married to her, and she's already married. I didn't know about it. But Gail told me in certain words, you know what I mean? But I didn't comprehend it, you know what I mean? And so when I got there, you know what I mean? It was like one of these things I made my mind up, I'm gonna break this up. Whatever way, I'm gonna break it up. But it never happened. I changed my mind.
I want to. Gil over there laughing and says, y'all in cahoots together that night because this is. I want to let all our audience know this is why it's called raw. It's the truth. Somebody is going through things that they don't want to tell, or you don't know what happened, why things went on. But this is my brother telling his truth. Sometimes I just want to let the audience know that it's a safe place to help people. Sometimes people have things still down in them, and you don't even know the reason. Enough. This is. I don't want nobody to think that this is something you talked about. I have no. This is like I'm sitting here baffled because I know what the podcast means to me, being truthful and raw about things to help someone. So, Gail, you did a lot of things. We're gonna have a talk afterwards because you was a part of a lot of things that you really. I don't think she don't remember things. She claims she don't remember, but there is somebody for everybody. I want you to continue to tell your story because somebody watching probably don't even know who these people are. But this is a life story. He's telling his story.
Just to go back for the podcast, you know what I mean? Now, I just want to double back a little bit about being the big brother that I am to you and how, we delve in a little bit about it. But however, You know what I mean? I go back, Darlene was born when, 62 or 60,
62. Yeah.
62, right? In 62. Now, since I got to tell you mom's side of the story really quick. And you probably already said it in one of your podcasts, how in 57, she joined the new creation. And she was prophesied that she will have a child with Aunt Nora and Aunt Norma Jean, the three of them. So Aunt Nora was supposed to be the first, Aunt Norma Jean, and then her. Okay, that's the order that the prophecy was set out there. So after, again, I'm telling you, from 57 to 62, she didn't have no children. She only had me, and Namaji had already took Geneva. That's how we got separated. So after like the son them the house on 7th Street, they moved over there, and she didn't have a child, so they wanted to separate us. So Geneva went to Namaji, I stayed with Uncle Wright and Leslie, and until, like I said, we got out of there. But the thing of it is, your mom had strong, positive faith in God. And this was I remember her always saying, Lord, if I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, let me have my child. That was her prayer, even though she knew the order. But it's been like, it was prophesied in 57 before I got there. And she didn't have the first one until 62. So I was there from 58 to 62 before she had any of you. So that's why she always said, I'm her son. She accepted me as that. That's the reason why when you said what Dad said, you know what I mean? That's the reason why, because she accepted me as her own. They didn't go through the process of adoption legally. You know what I mean? They didn't do that. You know, back then, the word of mouth, word of mouth. That's how it works. And so, just to get that clear. So that's why y'all know me as your brother, because I was there first. And then when God opened her womb, right, he closed, she said, after Mike, she said, Lord, close my womb. And the Lord closed it. So she only had 6. That's how I think Mike was very young when I left. It was like 67. I'm not sure exactly when his birthday was. But that's why he's so close to me, because, like you said, he don't know the whole story. Okay, just like you hear the story, but me and Mike, that's my brother. Alan, that's my brother. He ain't gonna waver. You know what I'm saying? So this is how, even though that even know the truth now, they're not going to disown me as their brother. You know what I mean? So that's how, going back to that story. Okay, now I'm going back now after I got out the military. Okay.
And what year is it?
That was 1970. I went in 68, went to Vietnam. I discharged was in October of 70. I got discharged. So at that time, because the president put an order in, anybody been to Vietnam, you get an option to get a job or go to school. So they gave us 90 days early out. So I took the option of getting a job. So they gave me a job at Second Huntington Park with the city. My job was to fix 8 tires, truck tires a day. That's it. So here, a young man, full of energy, in 2 hours, I got 8 tires finished. So these guys said, you can't do that. You got to do 1 tire an hour. But we work hard to get this quota. So here again, I'm young, didn't know what to do. Another young man in there. He introduced me to marijuana on the job. So now we go outside, we get high on the job, but the work is done. So they never bothered me with the drugs. How I got fired was tardiness. The job was to be on the floor at 8 o'clock, get off at 4 o'clock with no lunch because if they call you, you have to work. You always take a lunch, but you don't get a lunch. You can't claim that this is my lunch period. So and that's how it worked. You know what I mean? And then must have spent a year, 9 months before I got fired. I got fired. I remember I told you about the girls. So now I'm trying to hang out with the girls all night and work too. And then I can't go to bed at 4 o'clock in the morning and I can't get to work at 8 o'clock. So from that point, I just got fired. They call it tardiness, not because of my skill set or anything like that, just because they had a strict rule, be on time. You know what I mean? And so at that point on, but that was my drift after I got fired from that job. Well, this was the transition to becoming a drug dealer. I ain't had no income coming. So I started dealing drugs just to be with the girls. I was never an addict. It was, how you call it? Um, it was the means to the end. So I got drugs. I don't like drugs, but the girls like drugs. So here, I start selling it so I can have money and that for the girls. That's the whole thing of drugs for me. Until I start using my own product. When I start using my own product, that's when I lost my mind. I was in 73.
How long was 73?
73. And I sold drugs from 70 to the 73 time frame. Okay. It's because that's when I met Millennium, all them, had all them involved with that stuff, you know what I mean? But anyway, I don't want to put them all in the line, but that's what happened to me, you know what I mean, doing the drug thing. And then my brother James came in Philly, got me, took me to his house in Jersey. And from that point, it took me 6 months to even know who he was or people that would help him. I stayed in his basement for 6 months. And he told me after 6 months, he took me outside of his house. I was getting stronger then. He said something to me and I got mad. He said, I picked them up and threw them in the bushes. He said, that's when he knew I had my strength back. Right?
So you saying that you was on drug that bad that you didn't know who you was for 6 months?
Lost my mind. Yep.
That was the Moses days?
Hmm?
That was the Moses days?
Moses before that. I was doing that. I was pretty much knowing what I was doing then.
Oh, okay.
Because I was reading the Bible, you know what I'm saying? It was like, okay, I knew the word and I wanted to be Moses. And Moses always had a staff. So I got this long stick and because we did stuff in the basement in fluorescent lights. So every time I go to that basement, I would take that stick and I would carve something in there and color it. So when I go back in the basement, everybody can see what I carved in there. Right? So it was just a stick. And that was probably 72 time frame, going into 73 time frame because you remember Isaac Hayes? I went to his showdown uh, at, at the center. And after we got out the show, I had my stick with me. When I got into the subway, the police dog came after me, barking at me. I just took the stick and boom, hit him in the head, and it just killed over. So at that point, the cops took me, they beat me. They said I killed the police dog, officer. So they called the dog an officer. So I got 2 years probation for that. Okay, for that incident. You know what I mean? So things got a little worse. I was going to my probation officer on the 17th of each month. I had to go to him. And it got to the point where I got to the point where I couldn't go to him sober. Every time I went, I was high. But also, what happened was I knew I need some help. I didn't know what kind of help I need, so I started thinking about the home that I was raised in, father image I had there, the judge, they had gave me structure. So that started coming back to me how. So I said to myself, okay, um, I need to go back into the military because that's the only structure that I can think of. I can still get high. When I come across that brow, I have to be sober enough to get across there. So that was my fatherly structure in my mind. So I asked my promotion officer at the time, can you expunge my record so I can go back to the military? Because with the with the drug charge, they won't let you back in. So he said to me, if you can come to my office sober, I will expunge your record. Well, I could never fill my part. But at the end of the day, he expunged it. So my last visit with him was the 17th of December of 74. I went and joined back the Navy in January 75. Okay. And it took me a year in the military to get off of drugs. So I didn't get off the drugs until like March of 76. I was stationed in Jacksonville, Florida. And the reason I got off because the, I was dealing with a white girl, Wade, and plus I was working in the bar right there. And so what happened was I stuck this girl in my barracks through the back door. Me and her did our thing. Then we went back out the back door. I took her to her barracks and left her. I came back on Monday morning. I was working night shift, and I came and got me. Said I raped her. Right. So now this was in like February, March, like February time frame. So I went to court like 4 times on that behalf. So the last court was in March 76. Um, I had got a black lawyer, and he did his interview. I found out she had to be able with 4 other guys in that short period of time. While she said I raped her, right? So from that point on, when we went to the last court, the black lawyer was there, and he said to her, brought all these people that she went to bed with, and then she broke down and told the truth. So she said, the reason she did that was this was a Friday night for us. On a Sunday, she called her boyfriend from like one of the Navy bases and told him that she went to bed with the black guy. He told her he didn't claim rape, they were done. And that's when she did it. Okay, so at the point, they told me I was up for 20 years for messing with a white girl in the South. That was their rule. I said, I didn't do it, so I don't really care. I really didn't. And finally, the truth came out. And then they restricted me from the wave barracks. I couldn't go back over there. I couldn't come in a certain distance with her. But they asked me did I want to press charges because I said no. So I had to just change my lifestyle. But in that same month, there's a lady came from where was anyway, her name was Evangelist Little. She came to Florida where I was. She said, the Lord sent me to give you a message. And at the same time, I had a good friend named John. And basically, with John, I was messing with his wife, basically. And I thought she was coming to talk about that. Okay. She said, no. She was sitting in his room and she told me everything that I had did in the past John didn't know. I know John couldn't tell her. She also told me this is what turned me to get saved. She said, "You have a daughter." She said, "The mother of that daughter is not your wife." She said, "But your daughter has a infirmity in here. She doesn't get taken care of. She's going to die." She also said to me, and the Lord said, "If you go back, He's going to put 7 times more of what you just came through." So John never knew my drug habits, my losing my mind. So I knew she was from God because she's the only one, God's the only one to reveal it to her. And so from that point, I got up. I said, "Can I go now?" And now I'm anxious to call Melanie about my daughter. Okay, so she said, "Well, let me pray for you first." I stood up. She said, "No, sit down." Sit down. She stood up. She put a hand on my head and she prayed for me. You probably heard the story of Moses, like scales falling from his eyes. Was it Moses? Was it Moses? Paul. Paul. That's what it felt like happened to me. And at the time, I was living with a girl in my trailer, and I was smoking cigarettes then. But that night, when she did that, I spoke no more. I went to my trailer. I told this girl I cannot live with her no more. I just got saved, and I moved back to the barracks. Okay. Now, overseas, I told her, "Look, I know you can't pay for this trailer, but I'll pay for it until you get your air. I can't do this." I told her the reason why. And basically, um, from that, I started going to church, to different churches in Florida. What got me crazy was every church I went to, somebody had prophesied about me. And I couldn't figure it out. So I can't tell them, they ain't telling me nothing. But then these women, all these women talking about God sent me as their husband. And I said, "No." So I got to the point I didn't want to go to church no more. I stopped because there was too much prophecy going on. I don't care where I sit in the church, they'll call me up front, right? And that's why I was kind of, I didn't know what to do with that. You know what I mean? And then I started slipping back, going to this girl again that just had a baby. Um, but they told her that she can't have another baby. Either she's gonna die or the baby's gonna die. She had a miscarriage, premature, and the baby stayed in the incubator. But being a man, I just went back and she got pregnant because she tried to trap me now because I told her I was out and I was getting ready to go overseas. She got pregnant anyway. I had the baby. The baby never came home. I went to Japan, got on the ship. As soon as I got to Japan, the baby died. It was a boy. So they let me come back to the funeral, to bury him. You know what I mean? But I've never seen her since. This was uh, like 76 time frame before I went to Japan in the area. You know what I mean? So these are little things that happen in my life, all because of me and the way I think. I can't blame nobody for what happened. So now that I actually gave my life to God in 2013, I made a sacrifice at that 13 that, Lord, I'm done. I want you and your way now. That's when he introduced me into Infinite Oneness Ministries under our brother, our bishop, Derek Wright. And from 12 years that I've been there now, that's like going to school. I've been there 12 years learning how to be a better person. And that's where I'm at now, is following the footsteps that God has planted in me. I trust God. I don't trust religion, but I trust God. I trust the word. And this is why, in my heart, in my mind, when he always asked that question, what do the words say? Don't give me your opinion. What do the words say? And that transformed me. Now, and I'm still growing. I call myself a babe at 75 years old. I'm still a babe in Christ because I'm learning. And I'm learning, like God gave me this in 13 that I died. So as I grow, sometimes I feel like ain't enough dirt on me because the flesh still flare up. And that's the enemy. When you start looking at in the book of Matthew, it's talk about the enemy and it's the flesh, pride of life. So you got to crucify those things daily. Okay, you just can't do it one time. It's something you got to make up your mind that you're going to follow God. How do you do that? Look at the word. Okay, I don't tell you to go to no place. You got the word. It's good to be around people like-minded that can help you grow. But there's no excuse. I find there's no excuse, for yourself. Everybody has to sit for themselves to learn who God is, and that's kind of my story. I mean, to get back to, I think I came home. I was in 60. When I got married, in.
Wait,
Wait.
you hold, keep the thought right there. Just for people who's tuning in, we have our big brother here, Elder Thomas Nesbitt, who is telling his story. And we all know that for the Raw podcast, we always go back in our lives and come forward to tell what God has done in case someone else is living the same life or is stuck in the middle, because it's a process. But if you'll see someone today, but you don't know their story. So I'm happy because there's a lot of things you're saying right now that is very foreign to me. Because you can be with someone or know of someone, but I didn't know you went through all that. So sometimes you don't know what a person can help you with because nobody talk or fellowship. And sometimes people don't even want to hear the story. Oh, that's over. That was 20 years ago. Let it go. But you never know someone who's sitting in those same shoes that need to hear, I can make it out. They say that you was in that base. Like I heard a lot of things tonight that make me thank God for having it because it could have been another way. I heard stories, but I just remember the most because you come to the house and mommy was like, you stand out there until you get yourself together with the red rag, the blue. I knew you was going through things, but to hear the story, Gil, I'm gonna let him finish the story, but I got some questions that I want to take to ask. Far as if I'll ask the question because I don't want to. I'll let you go ahead and tell about what you want to say. But I have some questions to ask for someone who's been adopted, been placed somewhere else. Um, how do you feel? Did you feel different? Like, because a lot of people in your same shoes, did you go through those things because of you missing your original mother? But we'll talk about that. But because I'd like to hear, or you just retired to church, whatever that was. But some people don't know what they acting out of, what the triggers are. So it's interesting to hear, but I couldn't ask you the question before, but now that I heard your story, to help someone else who's been in the same journey, what is it? Besides God, we know God is the answer to everything, but maybe something like you said, you had somebody to help you in the military. Could you expunge somebody help you all along the way? But it was God. It was God, but we still need people. And sometimes people want to go to God, but you don't realize God have, and it don't have to be somebody I know. You see, the lady just came and gave you. It don't have to. It could be anyone, but God will never leave you. Nothing wasted. But go ahead, Gil.
I understand that more today. Him saying nothing shall be wasted. Yeah. I heard him say that, but now I see the process of all he went through. And it's, as Joseph said, what was meant for evil, God meant for good to save my soul. Because there's a lot of people, like you said, maybe still going through, feeling ostracized. He's mentioned being You don't want to tell nobody what you're going through, but there is an answer and there is a way out. And another thing he always say, the mind of Christ. Well, he had to go through losing his mind to gain or get the mind of Christ. So I can appreciate his walk more now. Like I said, I've seen the most days. I've seen, I, not knowing what he's going through. He's my big brother. I just love him. But now hearing his story, known him all my life, but just finding out something tonight, and I'm appreciative of it. And so that timeline, he said he left, I think it's 67. Well, that's why I didn't know no different, because I was born in 66, and all my life I knew him as my big brother. I didn't know nothing.
I just want to go back to Sister Little prophecy to me. She said to me that Melanie is not your wife, but God has one for you. So that stuck into my head. So even now, I still try to marry nothing. We talked for years. And this is the story. I came home from Japan on vacation in 68. Was 68? No, 70. 78. I got married in 79. So in 78, I came home and Mother Leslie sent me to the basement to carry some clothes to the washer. When I got down there, Maddie was doing something in the basement at the time. And then when I walked by there, I didn't know God then. I always said, something told me that's your wife. I said, no, that's not my wife. I don't like dark-skinned women. I like light-skinned women. That's what I said. And I walked on away. So going back to Japan, me and Melanie got back talking, writing. I got saved and started a church. So me and her talking, I said, I'm going to take 45 days. We're going to come home. We're going to get married. Oh.
It's okay. So just for people to know, who Betty is his wife now, my dear sister. So when God gives you a promise,
Yeah.
sometimes it ain't what you think it's going to be. So when we say yes to God or we turn our life over to God, sometimes we want to pick and choose, but God has the best plan. But sometimes it's who we are, what we want, how we want to do things. So that's another nugget right there. When you saying yes, somebody tell you to say yes to God, make sure you know that it won't be our way. It's not our way.
So I came home to get married to her. I took 45 days. So the first 15 days on my home, I went to her church. And her father kept saying, y'all can't get married because you unequally yoked. Because they believed in speaking in tongues. And we at New Creation didn't. So I'm saved, but they say I'm not. So he wouldn't allow us. That's the first 15 days. So I went back to our New Creation, and then the judge came to me after service on a Sunday. Huh? Yeah, our pastor. Okay. Our pastor came to me and says, Mr. Nesbitt, can I talk to you? So I said, sure. He said, can you come by my house on Tuesday at 7 o'clock? I said, sure. So I go to his house on that Tuesday night, and he sit down. He said, I want to talk to you about your future. I said, oh yeah, I'm planning on doing 20 years in the military. He said, I ain't talking about that. Stop right in my shoes. He said, I'm talking about marriage. And then I told him what the lady said, that what happened to me on when I came home when something told me that Betty was going to be my wife. I repeated to him the same words. He said to me, he said, that's who God has for you. But like any other gift, you can either receive God's gift or you can reject it. He left like that. After that meeting, I went back to Mother Leslie's house. I was on leave, so I was staying there for leave. So I went back to the house. Betty was there working in the house. Usually she's gone at that time. She was in the house working. I walked in and down the room. I said, Betty, would you marry me? She said, yeah.
That's how it.
That's how it happened.
Oh wow.
We never dated. We never went out. Right after that meeting, she said, yeah. But we went and got our blood test. Back then, you had to take blood tests, make sure you're compatible. We got our blood test. Came just so we gonna get married. After we got the blood test back, we got the certificates. After church one day, they marched us up in front of them, married us.
Oh wow. You did that, Gil? You did that? Like just like that? What was that?
They married us, and they gave us the keys to the cornerstone, on the upper room. Yeah, gave us, and that's where that's where Troy was born. But from that point on, we've been married now 45 years, right? Quite naturally, what I mean? They have doubt because back then they called the new creation people match, what do you call it? Matching people up. You know what I mean?
I'm under you, so
Yeah.
you're telling me new stuff.
Yeah,
Y'all was matchmaking?
yeah, like the pastor would put people together, right? So, the story. I don't know my wife's story, so I can't really tell it all. But they had sent her to Buffalo to one of your aunt's brothers, saying that was going to be her husband, and it didn't happen. You know what I mean? So over the time, she got a little negative about that. You know what I mean? Even with me. Okay, so because of that tradition or culture, you want to call it, you know what I mean? And so I always knew from Sister Little telling me that Melanie wasn't, God had one for me. God verified to me when I came there today. She was in the basement, said, that was my wife. And with Pastor saying, God, that's the one for you. You know what I'm saying? So it's solidified to me that it was from God. It's not my choice, it was from God. And so I even went to my family last week and I said, look, can we go over our vows? Because we made our vows to God and you. And I said, scripture says it's better not to make a vow and break it. So that even in your marriages, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just bringing this up because just because we're in a crowd of people, they are just witnesses of what you vow. Your vow is to God. And so that's why no matter what happened, I would never, ever, ever break up from my wife because it's the vow I may not understand what it is to make a vow. Okay, you say good, better, for worse, until what? Death do us apart. That's the only thing that can separate us. Is death. So it doesn't matter how good or how bad it is. Like I said, I would never, ever, I'll say, what you call it, word I'm gonna use to make my marriage against somebody else's. Match it up. We are different. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to try to say, well, this couple do this. No, it's me and my wife, what God got for us. And that's how I survived so far. So that's my story. Up to this day, I'm saved. I said I've been dedicated for 12 years. Sometimes I want to leave and do my own thing, but he already reminded me that you said you died. That is do his will. And that's, they got to be reminded what you say. Because you made those vows to God. People just are witness. They can't do nothing for you. That's what God can do. That's what holds me steadfast.
Well, I don't know, Gil. Gil, what you got to say? Because now that both of you are sitting here, my older brother and my baby sister, and I'm thinking about these are two marriages that I witnessed that I didn't know happened like that. So you just said, "Would you marry me?" She said yes, and you had a drunk for your preacher for your marriage. I just need to rewind for a minute. I went to your marriage and played on a keyboard on the floor, and the man was drunk that married her, and you just asked that. So I'm making a joke out of it, but you said something important: the vows, and it doesn't matter what we go through. You made a vow to God. Um, powerful, powerful, because people these days just they divorce over anything, everything. What do you call it? Irreconcilable differences, differences. And then when you ask them what that means, it's something really petty. Some things really. But this is a testament to what you two believe. I'll always admire the God. When you made up your mind about God, you did what you had to do. So I thank you for coming on and telling. I know you got more in you, but I appreciate the story. You kept telling me, even when I used to go down to the post with you, they said you went to that first thing you had, telling my story night, and it meant something to me to let people tell their story. Somebody will get something out of somebody's story. If we're not telling it to be glorifying it, but people are in situations today and don't even know how to get out of it because they don't know someone else went through.
Not
So,
only get out of it, but change. He didn't get out of it. He changed, and I respect that. I honor that. I'm inspired and encouraged because only what you do for God is going to last. And His words have always been, nothing shall be wasted. Some might hear it and frown, but others might hear it and get the courage to go on. Because, like you said, you witnessed both of our marriages. And like I got stories with you, but he was also a coverage. What I just wanted to be away with my police stick. He was there. I just thank God. I bless God tonight for a whole lot of reasons. Tell you the story.
and y'all correct me. The words say we're overcome by the what?
Blood of the Lamb and word of testimony.
So Tech loved me today, all because of what she just mentioned on the corner of what's that knife and coming. So I won't go into detail, but Tech loved me for that. You know what I mean? He'll always come to me and my brother. He's always loved me. I don't even remember her, but I come to her rescue and will main for her. It's my sister, right? And Tech remember all that because he mentioned it to me not long ago. I have, I hadn't even thought about nothing like that. You know what I mean? But however, nothing is wasted
Yeah.
for whatever reason. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I say I am encouraged. You know me too, or you're raw. Because when God told me in 23:8 or 23 in church, he says, tell your story. So I asked the question, Lord, how do you tell your story? He said, don't glorify in it. Only tell your story if it's going to lift somebody up.
Yeah.
Only. Don't tell that story to relive it with pride or you enjoying this story. So that's why I started that program at Post, Tell Your Story Night, because so many people was helped. This one lady, she's in her 80s now. She was raped as a kid from her sister's husbands. And she said, I couldn't even tell that story to none of my family until another woman told her story about the same thing. And when that woman told her story, she was able to release hers. In 80s now, it's happened as teenagers. She was holding this stuff, like you said, probably carried to death, but she didn't know how to release it. But now she's free. I mean, just about telling your story. So,
One thing I wanted to ask you, you say you got fired for tardiness?
yeah, you'll see me laid down. So,
I was going to say that was a big thing coming up in the house. On time, running to church to be on time everywhere. You got fired for tardiness?
but I mean, that's on my record. That's a job, like I said, I had 8 tires to fix. So by 10 o'clock, I'm done. I couldn't go to, it was a big shop. So I couldn't go visit nobody else. So me and the other boy, we used to go out there and just get high. They didn't bother me for that. Coming in late, that's how I got fired. It wasn't even about my activity or my job, none of that stuff. So like I said, I went through a lot of things, but it learned me and made me be the man that I am. That's why I said everything that people tell me now, I don't quite I don't remember myself, but people tell me. I can't deny it because I don't remember. TJ, you did this, you did that, or you said this. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not going to say you're not true because I don't remember. She always tell me what I preach. I don't remember none of that stuff because I preach for what God gives me at the moment. You know what I mean? And then I use that. Now I'm getting better because in Infinite Wonders, they're telling you to prepare a message, which I do. And so our recent order was you should always have a message. Don't study to preach. Have a message. You know what I mean? So like this open form, this is just a message. It's in me. I don't have to say John, Paul, none of those guys. That was them. But God uses us in our time to help people in this day and season. And people ain't gonna like it. That's why I'm so proud of you stepping out in faith. Everybody don't like what you're doing. Okay? And they may say that you're out, but you doing what God called you to do. And you're bold enough to do it. And so many people gonna be helped in this. You know what I mean? And so like plus like with the podcast, you don't know who is going to see that and be blessed. You may never know the extent of what your ministry is doing. That's why I say with this ministry here. Okay, God gave me that. I got it already established. So I just got to get in order how God want me to operate. And it's mostly tell your story. How you tell your story. Maybe I don't know exactly all the details, but that's what I love. People need to hear your stories. And just like you quoted, by your testimony. People, you don't look like that. You know what I'm saying? Did you go through that? Yes. You know what I'm saying? And so, like I said, my whole passion, have we done with this? Huh? Okay, so the whole thing is getting people to understand and open up. Because like the passion I have for Infinite Wonders. I don't like talking a lot. But I do like helping people. And then being that light myself. I mean, that's why this is personal charge that I charge myself is to get there early, make sure everything is in order, so our leader don't have to worry. You can concentrate on the word. You don't have to worry about the physical building. Okay. You don't heard about closing up the building. Because it's in good hands. You know what I'm saying? So this is something I learned from mom and dad. You know what I mean? That's why I like cleaning. That's built in me. Right? I can clean all day. It don't even bother me. I don't want to do it, but it doesn't bother me. Why? I was raised that way. You understand? That's why I said I look like that in my life. I am so proud of how I was raised. They put so much in me. I didn't even know until now. I go back now, like I say, everywhere I go, I hear mom's voice in my head. They give me the right direction to go. That's my angel. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, people say, I can't probably quote word for word what they say, but direction definitely there. I mean, I would never doubt now. I would do it all over again. I mean, now that I understand, okay, but like uh, how I was raised, and I mean, it's top notch. When I went to the military, easy. I ain't worried about cleaning because I knew how to clean. Right? I knew how to be on time. 5 minutes before 8, boom, you better be there. So I learned this stuff, you know what I mean? And so I didn't never have a problem. Even now, I have I have to adjust on how we do things now, being lenient on time. I'm something I have to learn. And I'm learning. It don't have to be like we did. We're a new generation. You know what I mean? So these are all the things that I I'm learning. You don't have to be precise. You can I guess what you call it, be a little bit flexible. I mean, I ain't learned that to research. You got to be flexible with people. You know what I mean? So I'm learning. So that's all I have.
Yep. Got any-
No,
Anything else?
one thing I remember, uh, your attitude.
Mm.
You remember to say it?
What said
Your attitude
when?
determines your altitude.
Okay. So, like I said, a lot of these things I don't remember. So I learn things, and I'm learning more now than ever because I got this new technique called Speedify. You ever heard of it? It's an app. So I got all these books. I take pictures of the book and it reads it to me. And so a lot of times I go back, I let it listen to it, and I open up the book, and stuff that catch my attention, I highlight it right there. So I learn a lot like that because I'm getting more information. Things that I already know, but it's like a witness. Things that you already know, and other people are explaining it in a better way. That's powerful for me.
Oh, I told him that before we went in the military.
Hmm?
But your attitude determines your altitude.
I don't remember. I don't remember that yet.
That's something that follows
Oh, yeah.
all the time.
Yeah, I would say that's true anyway because you have to get above all your enemies, right? Be your footstool, so that's your altitude. But if you always down at their feet, then you're always in trouble. That's why I like what you say. I never had a spirit of fault finding. My spirit was always problem solving. I find a fault, but not cast the blame. My problem is how do I make this better? How do I resolve this? And that's my mindset. That's why when stuff you told me, I had never seen before. You talk about the stuff that's going on with the kids and the young ladies and stuff. I, I ain't never seen none of that stuff. Stuff with the hills and the rights. I never seen that stuff. You know what I mean? Until somebody start mentioning it.
That was my upbringing.
Yeah.
upbringing. And I've always had, I don't know what it's, I think it was godly, a discernment.
Mhm.
Like something is wrong. Something is wrong. And I had to go through this period of learning, and that's the same way today. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. But if you d- um, get into it, you won't help what it is. We have reigning spirits between two families, and it was a lot. But that goes on in the world as it is. But he made us to not feel it, but be able to help.
Discerning.
Yeah.
That's the truth, because that's why I try to get Chrissy book out to everybody. It's because of that. She was able to put it into writing.
Okay, who is Chrissy?
um, Chrissy Williams, Star, what we call it, Chrissy Star.
Okay, we had to let people know that
Yeah.
she has the book out,
Yeah.
so that maybe the next,
Yeah,
give
called
me
The
the information.
Illusion. Yeah,
Okay,
Illusion of Love
okay.
is the name of the book. I had to let people see that because there are so many of us is burdened from our past. It can't go no further and grow because they got this heavy burden they can't let go.
Hmm.
And that's what.
The real time.
Hmm?
Okay, she's-
Quarter.
Yes, sir.
Well, we're gonna have you back, and we're gonna talk
Yeah,
about
to be
it.
continued.
It to be continued. So we have mentioned her book, whatever else we need to do. But I want to, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being here, and I want to thank you two, as siblings, for sticking with me. You know, and I have to say this to other people: you're not going to please everybody with what you do. But I made a stand this year to do what God told me to do. And it's not going to be accepted by every, what you said, it's not going to be accepted. Really, it's okay. But I thank God for the people that's in my corner that understand what I had to do and what I'm willing to do. You'll go back, or you have, but sometimes you have to step away to see and do your job. And for most of my life, I've always been a people pleaser. I do more what you want me to do, but I heard this. Um, I went in '84, and this took me to 2025. So 1984, God gave me something to do, and it took the process to 2025 January that I stood up and did it. So it's okay. It's okay. But I want to thank you, Judge, for being, Sylvia laughed, she laughing, but we're way past our time. But thank you for being our guest. And as we always close out, we'll be back next Wednesday. Always close out and said, love
Love God,
God, love
love
family,
work
work
hard,
hard, and be kind.
And you are admirable. I couldn't think of keeping being quiet for hours.